Hey, Adam,
Yeah,
do you have a learning and growth mentality?
always.
Are you growing things in your basement under a lamp situation?
That's none of your business.
Okay.
I'm Adam Maness.
I'm Peter Martin.
You're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily jazz advice coming at you.
Coming at you today, sponsored by OpenStudioJazz.com. You can check out Peter Martin's amazing piano courses. I'm even getting in on the game. We got Jeffrey Keyser in there also.
Yes.
We're about to release a course by Brazilian great Elio Alves.
It might be
Brazilian
out by the
jazz-
time this is very close to it. By
Actually-
the time this is heard.
Yeah, it might be coming out today.
Ooh, okay.
We'll
happy
see.
happy launch day.
We'll see. I mean, we do wake up every morning and record these live, so
Yeah,
of course.
of course.
It might
It's
be
just
today.
so early in the morning.
Just so early in the morning. Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
Today we
Here
have
on the old podcast.
we have a speak pipe from a premium member, and let's see what this is from Sean.
All right.
Hey, what's up, guys? Sean from Berlin. I want to say thank you so much for the tip on practice journals. I've been sleeping on practice journals, and massively helpful for being efficient and organized out the gate. Practice journals will never leave my life. So thank you so much. That's just, I don't know what I've been doing. My question is, I'm curious to know what you've learned as a teacher and as a player during the time that you've had the site up and going. I'm sure there's been a lot that you've learned and information that maybe you never thought about as far as in your own playing and whatnot. So I'm curious to hear some feedback and information on that. Peace.
Man, did Sean just make practice journals sound sexy?
He did. That was it totally.
Andrew, you got some stiff competition here,
I
man.
know, man.
As far as
That's-
like the deep voice going.
Now I got to tell, have you been to Berlin before?
I've never been to Berlin.
Well, you're going to be surprised. Everybody in Berlin sounds like Sean. You're thinking they sound like they have a German accent. They sound like Sean, Yeah, that's a voice made for radio, but for good radio,
Yeah,
not
that's
just
awesome.
any radio.
Not our teensy jazz pianist voice over
hey, Adam,
here.
how you doing, man?
Pretty good, man.
All right, cool, man. So happy that the practice journal was a game changer for
Yeah,
you and continues to
for
be.
sure.
It really is. I mean, it's
We actually have we're making a custom Open Studio practice journal.
Are
Did
we?
you know that? Yeah, it's going to be really cool, like a really cool organized way to keep track of your week, what to practice, what you've practiced. There's going to be a little chart for keys that you can hit. I think people are going to dig it.
nice.
I'm
Kind
gonna
of
use it.
Kind of a Bujo bullet journal for
custom
jazz,
practice journal.
effective jazz.
Yeah,
players.
look for that.
Awesome. Okay, so what have we learned since starting Open Studio? I could write a book.
Yeah.
If I could write a book.
I haven't learned that tune yet.
But I think, specifically, Sean, you were asking about as a teacher and a player. So I'll kind of just look first at as a teacher. I've learned so much. I'm so fortunate to be in this situation and to have learned from our students so many things. I mean, possibly or probably much more than I've taught, actually. So I'm the beneficiary of so many just, comments here and there, being able to meet our students out on the road around the world. That's been such a beautiful thing. The variety of students that we have. And, as a teacher, I realized that we serve a lot of students that are at a surprisingly high level, partly because we started with some kind of advanced courses.
For sure.
And there is what I've learned is there's such a world of accomplished jazz players beyond just kind of the pro and local touring and local scenes, that we know here and that, some of the places we've traveled, we've seen. I mean, I know there's a bunch of great players in different places, but then there's this whole other level of like players that they're doing other things. They're maybe doing an occasional gig, but they're pretty good,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
sometimes really good.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there's like a wealth. Like I always get so inspired about the state of jazz, and when people like jazz is dead, I'm like, not at all. I mean, the amount of, and we've only touched a small percentage of them, I'm sure. I mean, we're still trying to learn how to reach people that would be interested in the kind of things and lessons that we have.
Yeah.
But the questions that I get asked and that come into us, really get me thinking about putting things together. We've put together courses together, and I mean, I think it's helped my playing too, because it gets me going back, even stuff that I've known, and practicing it again.
That's right,
Because
yeah.
there's nothing like teaching something and getting dogmatic about it, and then be like, wait, do I do that?
Yeah.
Can I do that?
I need to be. Shouldn't I be doing that?
Yeah,
Shouldn't
sometimes
know
I
all
feel like
this?
I'm just teaching myself, but it really is fun, and it keeps you in that. I think that's the biggest way I would describe it. It keeps me in that student mentality, which I love being there.
I was going to say something similar.
I never graduated college, so it's funny that I'm saying that, but I love.
Yeah.
I'm like this student that never leaves.
Me
You know.
neither. Yeah, for me, like the analogy I come up with is it's changed the way I teach in that I was teaching like across the table at someone, and now
Yeah.
I feel like the best way to teach is to come to the same side of the table, almost like, hey, we're learning this together. I have these insights, like I've been working on this, but like we're all just growing together,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so whatever I can share with you, I want to share whatever you can share with me. I'm going to use that too. Here's what I know, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah,
that's the approach that for me has really been a huge game changer in connecting with people and actually, like you said, improving my playing to really take an honest assessment of like, okay, what I'm about to tell them is something that is really good advice because
Yeah.
I'm, trying to grow. Is that a part of my routine?
Right,
Do I
right.
have that? Like, am I living into my values that I'm putting on other people? So that is an enormous value of being a teacher, and I think something that I've taken from Open Studio.
Yep.
And then just as a player, all those details that we get asked about all the time. Like sometimes people ask us like, hey, like how do you finger this certain thing? And I'm like, I've never thought about that. But
Right.
if I refine that, that's actually a huge, bonus for my playing.
Right.
So it's like things that you don't even think about that you
Yeah.
have, that you're not identifying as holes in your own playing. Someone will be like, I have this hole. And you're like, oh, I have that hole too.
I know.
Let's figure it out.
Well, even things that are, I remember being kind of fearful at the beginning that as I started to see trends, of questions like, how do you do this? And I realized it was something that, either people admired in my playing or they wanted to know how to do it. And then I realized I didn't really know how I did it. So I was going to have to go back and kind of,
Right.
or maybe I learned it so long ago, or I learned it so unconsciously. So I was kind of fearful, if I learn the intricacies of it, it's going to start sounding contrived. So I would be like, I don't really know how I do that. And then I realized that wasn't really helpful to people, though. I mean, I tried to make it like, just do it. I can just do it. But the reality was, I actually did learn that on some level,
Yeah.
some level of consciousness at some point. And once I learned that you can go back and figure it out, kind of reverse engineer, or really going backwards from how you do it now, and then try to figure out a way to explain it effectively, even
Yeah.
if it wasn't the exact way that I learned it. That was not going to mess. It was only going to strengthen it actually for me.
Yeah.
Like the thing we ended up calling bluesy double stops. Like I've been playing that since I kind of stumbled upon it so long that I never had any. I mean, it was definitely a sound, not a sound that I created, but it was a sound that I liked.
For sure.
And so I was always like, no, just play that. What do you mean? But then I said, you know what? There's actually a technical way that can make this easier for people. So I started breaking that down.
Yeah.
And that's really been super gratifying because one advantage, I mean, all this stuff is the same as like, I think teaching one-on-one with someone. There's no real huge conceptual difference to doing it online, but there are some kind of gradations that are interesting. Like we have the benefit of kind of crowdsourcing questions and starting to see trends in a way that if you're just teaching the same people, which we've both done, in our careers as well, one-on-one you don't necessarily get. It's so personalized for them and what they want. But we start to see when like hundreds of pianos ask the same question.
For sure.
And at first we're kind of like, oh, that's stupid or whatever. Then we're like, wait, no, that's not stupid. Like
Yeah.
we're the stupid one.
Yeah, there's a
100
void
people.
somewhere
Yeah.
of knowledge that these folks don't have.
And so it's kind of helped us to be able to pinpoint these important elements. Like once enough people were asking about the blue, and at first they were like, I don't know what different people were calling them different things. That kind of I called them double stops because I came up playing violin.
Yeah.
And that's the way I thought about it.
Yeah.
But bluesy double stops or whatever, they were asking how do you get that bluesy sound or something in your line.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, cool, let me go break it down now that I've identified. Let me give it a name. Let me try to help people get to that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me too, one of the more important revelations working here at Open Studio is really being around all these, high level world-class artists, yourself, Christian McBride, Diane Reeves, Homero, Hutch, like all these incredible people that I grew up listening to and idolizing. But
So old people, basically.
no,
Got it.
just a little bit older than me. But it was realizing as a performer how important being honest was on stage, and how, I've been talking about this all year about, watching you perform so much now, and knowing you personally, and realizing that there's very little disconnect between your offstage personality and your playing on stage, and the work that takes to have that sort of confidence. You know what I mean? And that's really the hardest part, is because it's not something you can shed in the practice room. It's like a personal growth kind of thing, right?
Yep.
But again, awareness, man.
Yep.
Awareness is key. So just being aware that, like, okay, I have to work on being more me on stage, right? And being confident that that's cool, and like not trying to people please or whatever as I'm on stage. That was an eye opener for me.
Yeah.
And very, very important,
That's great stuff.
Yeah.
One other thing I'm thinking about is, I think, that I've really learned from the students is that there's like a real, interest and awareness of sort of the real information kind of coming. I don't even know how to describe. We kind of starting to call it the open studio way, but it's this idea that not everything has to be approached theory first, you know? And it was something that was always kind of natural to me. And then once we met, 10 years ago, and then slowly kind of started talking about these things as pianists, we never like delineated it or wrote it out or anything. It was just sort of a natural way that we thought about music. I think we both have a fairly deep theoretical understanding, but we never really approached things theory first. And so I had been doing that already in the lessons and stuff. And I always felt like, man, I think that there's other people like this beyond just, when I met Roy Hargrove and connected with him when we were like 22 years old, I was like, man, this dude is like way better than me, but he kind of thinks about music the way I do. He listens to the same stuff. This is going to be fun.
Right.
But I was like, this is really what the spirit of jazz is. This is nothing that I came up with or you came up with.
Yeah.
I think we just sort of found a way to maybe put it out there and almost like dangle it like a fishing line.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, does anybody else want to think about it like this?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about theory and drop two or whatever, but we're going to really just talk about how do you get the feel of this music?
That's
How
right.
do you get the vibe? How do you get the groove? And that's for everybody. And so, but I wasn't actually sure, because I was like, maybe not everybody can do this. But what I've learned, and is so gratifying, is that like at varying levels, everybody can, that like kind of puts a little bit of time and effort into it. And so I was very confident at the beginning, like if you do this, you'll be able to, but I wasn't sure. But now I've learned, and you see the development that the students have had. And look, when you're doing it online, we're not there to make you do it. So if you don't put anything into it, we're not going to magically make you better just because you come to us.
That's right. Yeah.
But I've seen players that have really developed. And so that's extremely gratifying.
Yeah, that is something I've learned too, is that you cannot acquire information to be a better player.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
No.
Like you can't information your way
No.
to being a better jazz musician.
Not at all.
There are great jazz musicians right now who are like 16 years old who do not know as much music theory as you do.
Right.
And they sound great because they feel great, and
Right.
because they're putting the importance on the things that actually sound good.
Yeah.
Not the theory, not the information. That's and so it's been a tricky balancing act, because we get asked a lot about information, like what is the drop two and all that, and
Right.
I love
you're
nerding.
just hanging that thing over my head, aren't you?
You
man?
brought
Just-
it up, but man, I love nerding out about that kind of theoretical
Yeah.
stuff as much as the next musician. But there's something bigger that you
Right.
have to focus
Exactly.
on.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Good.
cool, great conversation.
Yeah,
here.
thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks.
Enjoy
again
Berlin.
for-
That's one of my favorite. My grandmother was from Berlin. Was a Berliner.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
She was a Berliner, East Berliner, in fact, because she
Hey,
was a little
whoa.
older.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was able to go to her apartment building and visit it a couple times when I was there.
Crazy.
So that was fun. Yeah.
That's cool.
So carry on until tomorrow.
You'll hear it.